Hello everyone, this is the part 2 of Python strings, and in this tutorial we're going to be learning a simple function called length. So we're going to be looking at how to check the length of a Python of a string, and we're also going to be looking at strings as an array. Right now, let's get started. Now the first thing you need to do as usual is to open your Python IDE, and then I'm going to set up my Python IDE for Python programming. All right, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call it strings 2. All right, so in the last class, I taught you, or I showed you how to declare a string, and I said that we can declare strings in 3 different ways. We can actually use a single quotation mark to declare a string, it's Mike, and then we can actually also use a double quotation mark, also as double quotation mark, and then we call it what? And then the last one is what? The multi-line. Okay, let me just say story. The multi-line strings that has to do with what? Triple quotation mark. So now with this one, we can actually write in multiple lines. Like my name is John. I love me. Now something like that. And I would like to be a computer scientist. Yeah, something like that. Now this is a multi-line. These are the 3 ways we can actually declare a string. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you can actually click on the link above to go through that video before you continue with this. Okay, all right. So the first thing on our agenda is to look at the length function. How do we check for the length of a string? Now, to check for the length of a string, let's first declare a string. Let's say, for example, I want to declare name, and I'm going to declare my name as what? Let me use John Woods. That's not my real name, okay? All right, now, if I want to check the length of this string, all I need to do is to use the function len, open the brackets. Can you see now? Now, the good thing about Python ideally is going to explain what the length function is. So it returns number of item in a container. And this is say it's going to return a number because it is meant to count the number of characters in that string, and that's a function of the length. So let's close the brackets. So remember that we're going to put in the variable of our string inside that bracket. So we're going to say what? Name. Now this would actually output our numbers. Now let's run it and see. Now when you run it, you're not going to see anything. I want you to tell me why. You can pause the video and make a guess before you actually come back. So welcome back. So if you said because we didn't put the instruction print, you're correct. So we are supposed to actually tell Python to print out the length of that variable. Now let me translate this in English. This means print the length of this variable, John Woods, of this variable name that contains what? John Woods. So now let's count the variable. To count, you're going to count each character, including the space. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're expecting 10 as our output. Now let's run it and see. Now that's 10. So now that is how to count the length of a string. Okay, let me give another example, which is simple, way simple. Remember I said that space are part of the character in a string. Now let's say, for example, I want to declare a variable. I'll say friend, and I want to pick Mike Games. All right, so now this is a friend, so I need to put more space. I only put just one space, but I want to put 2 more space. Now if I want to check this length, I'm going to use the length function. and I'm going to put the variable name, which is what? Friend. So remember to print out that function by using what? Print, and closing the bracket inside that. Now, let's make a guess of the number that Python is going to print. Let's try. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we are going to count the number of spaces in between mic and games. So that is how it works. So this is 12. If you run it now, you're going to see that we have what? 10 and 12, which is correct. So that is how to calculate, that is how to print out the length of a string. Thank you. Now the next thing on our agenda is to check that we say that we want to prove to you that strings are array. Don't worry, in some videos to come, you're going to know what an array is. But for now, I'm going to give you just a tip of what an array is. An array is a sequence, or it's a series of characters. Right? It could be numbers, it could be anything. Right? So now let's take, for example, strings. Let's take, for example, this string right here. Now, this is an array because it is a series, or it's a combination of different characters. We have the J, O, H, N, spacebar, W, O. So now this is a series of characters. That's a combination of different characters to form an array. So that is why it is an array. So that means we can actually print each character. We can actually print each character if we want it. So now how do we do that? You say what? Print, and then you put the name of the variable. But now there's something we call indexing in arrays. Now, whenever you want to index, whenever you want to use indexing, let me explain that using those paints. I want to just quickly explain indexing before we go on. All right, so indexing is a way of telling the positions of characters in an array, or of an element in an array. Now, let's say, for example, this is an array of strings, and then in our code we have John Woods. So now this is how Python is going to see it. This is one character, second character, John, and then the space bar, will be a space, and then we have Woods, W. All right, so now that's it. Now this is how Python is going to see the character. This is an array of characters. And then indexing, we start counting from 0. For indexing in an array, you start counting, that is, the index of J will be what? 0. The index of this will be 1. That's how it is in an array. So that's it. But normally, if you want to count the number of characters, you count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. But if you want to use indexing, you start counting from 0. So now, what is the index number for J? The index number for J is what? 0. All right. So now, because we want to print out J, you're going to use the square brackets, and then you put in what? 0. So now this is going to print out J, because that is the index value. That is the index value for J. Now, if you save your work now and run your work, it is going to give us J, because that is the index value for J. Remember, don't worry, I will explain this better in the array video, okay? But for now, this is just a tip, or this is an introduction to array. Now, this is to prove to you that what an array is a combination of, a string, is an array, and it is a combination of characters. So if I want to print all of these one after the other, I'm just going to copy and paste this, and then I'll put in the values. That's all. And paste that, and then I'll put in their different values. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to 9. So still give. I'm gonna go 2 more time. 9. All right. So now this is going to go like this. Now we're telling it to print index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Right now, let's run that and see what our output looks like. So when we run it now, it's going to give us what? John space roots. So now that is how to use index in strings. Don't worry, this is an introduction. In the next video, I'm going to be looking at some other functions in strings, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like you to subscribe, like the comment, like the video, and tell your friends about Flourish, okay? Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Stay blessed and keep flourishing. Bye.